to you. And let me address just a few of the issues that have been taken up just briefly, because I can have time to talk on the floor as well. I decided to pull my bill, and I've got an alternative bill. And it is, I'm going to outlaw all home kitchens and require all people to eat out every meal.
I knew there was a catch.
Because obviously it is much too dangerous to cook anything in your home and actually consume it. People are dying all over the place, getting sick in the hospital.
Jimmy Hilbert would say that maybe that's why I don't cook more often.
I'll have Shanna come talk to you. You know, to be honest, when you listen to the horror, you would think that that's exactly what's going on. When in fact, some of us eat almost all our meals at home, and the only times I ever typically get sick, I've had food poisoning twice in my life, and it's always from a restaurant. It's never from home. I know. Because I saw it come back up. The issue is... That's right.
That's a pretty loose committee. We get the funerals a little later on. Hang around.
Let me address just a few issues. One of the compelling testimonies was Kelly, who came up here, $20,000 in debt. And whereas she presented it as compelling testimony against this bill, I think it shows compelling testimony for this bill. Why should somebody have to go $20,000 in debt to do a business like this when we're bringing in regulation, trying to bring safety? This is a pro-business bill. This is a reasonable regulation bill, is what this is. There is no reason she should be $20,000 in debt today. What she should have been able to do is to begin her business in her home with reasonable regulations, and when she decided to step up and then want to sell wholesale, because under this you can't do that. Then if she wanted to sell to retail establishments that would retail, she could step up and do that. If she wanted to sell to hotels or to restaurants, then she could step up to that next level of business and make that investment after she's got in a clientele, made some money, been able to do that, put some money aside. Why do we make somebody make this upfront investment when they don't even have clientele? We're asking them to take tremendous risks. I thought we were pro-business. And I feel for her because, you know, she's now looking at, well, you know, if I'd have just waited a little while and this bill passed, I wouldn't have had to do this. And, you know, to be honest, she's somewhat right. The comment was made that, well, what about, you know, this comment about, oh, Mr. Gattis said, you know, Microsoft computers or Dell computers, it doesn't relate. Read the article I just handed out to you. It's an article in the Austin American-Statesman on January 28th on TIF's treats. Y'all know what TIF's treats are because we get them a lot. And they ought to be outlawed just for the sugar content. Third paragraph. It was January 29 when Taylor and Chin, who met while attending junior high together in Richardson but didn't start dating until college, started baking at Chin's Hyde Park apartment. And within a few months, they realized that the business was bigger than that and they needed to go get a commercial kitchen. They started in their apartment. A very well-known Austin and now Dallas establishment providing a service to our community. There's you an example that's directly on point. The cost to enforce this issue has been brought up by all the health departments because they say, what are we going to have to do if we have to go look at all these people that we know are out there today that are, you know, not following the law? Hello, why are you not out there looking at them today? I mean, you talk about it's going to take me 8 more people on my staff to go out there and regulate them because I know there's that many people out there breaking the law. Hello? If it's people out there breaking the law and you don't have them out there today, I think that's kind of negligence on your part today. The issue is that people are doing it today, and what we ought to do is be able to bring them into the light with some reasonable regulation, with some reasonable training. I talked to Representative Reynolds, and we have some opportunity potential for some training that we'd like to talk to with regard to our health departments, because our extension services already do that. Yes.
If we pass this bill, and it went for the House and Senate, and it was signed into law by the governor, would it make this industry more safe?
Yes.
Why?
Because if you pass this law, you actually have registration so you know where these products are being produced.
Okay, you got paper. You got paper and a fee.
Okay, you got paper and fee, so you know who they are. Number two, you require them to get some training, which they don't have today. You have rulemaking authority that you can place on them certain burdens, those types of things that Kelly came up here and talked about a while ago. That you could require them to have a separate refrigerator, a separate cupboard to keep their products in, those types of things. You require them to label it. You give consumers the knowledge of what they're buying.
Okay.
You can do those things today.
But, okay, so you think it'll make it safer. I'm going to ask you something well, you know, so is this more government regulation? I mean, it's the don't ask, don't tell thing, and people are still doing it. And I know you're saying, well, we're drawing them out of the shadows, but, you know, that's where I'm struggling. I think other members may be struggling is, what is it to the consumer that we're giving? And I think you're answering that, but I'm trying to weigh the pros and cons here.
But, Madam Chair, here's where I think here's pros and cons I think you're weighing. I think you're weighing, don't pass this bill and let the people that are acting illegally today continue to act illegally today because it would be actually less regulation on them and nobody's catching them today and nobody's looking for them today.
Okay, but
right.
we're going to catch one sector.
Right.
All right, what about the homemade tamales that I buy?
It doesn't, and then that's...
It doesn't touch them.
Well, it doesn't touch them.
Right.
And I don't want them, and I don't want them, and I don't want, well, they should be looking at them today. If there's homemade tamale shops out there today that are being out there today that are illegal today, our health departments need to hire those 8 inspectors evidently to go get them. But this bill does not allow them to do that. To say that if we pass this bill that all of a sudden everybody's going to expand into making tamales and become a caterer, that's wrong. The bill says cottage food production operation means, first paragraph, individual operating out of the individual's home who produces a baked good for sale. It's limited on what can be done.
Yeah, but why not include someone from that are making tamales or making?
Because I think that you get into a level of food product that is more susceptible to food-borne pathogens, illness, those types of things. When you're talking about meat products, when you're talking about cross-contamination issues and those types of things, I think you are ending up in a product that's significantly more.
One more question about this, okay? So what do you say to the state health department that says, okay, at one point, if you end up with some kind of something viral, and the name escapes me, and I should have written it down, and then they have to go in a commercial norovirus or any other kind of virus, and they go in and they say, well, who's been in your kitchen in the past, you know, week, month, whatever it is, okay? And so Shanna, like me, might have Lowe's Kate's best friends over. We had the entire softball team here, the Washington County All-Stars, and we had blah and blah and blah and blah and blah. So we start testing everybody. I mean, and I think we're going to have to work on what do you do on those certain health standards?
I think that is an answer for that is a case-specific issue. That is a case-specific issue. If you serve, let's say you had the football team over or the basketball team over, and you served them a meal or something at some point in time, and everybody got sick, can the health department come and talk to you then and talk to you about what was served and everything else? The answer actually is yes.
Is it? Fortunately, it hasn't happened.
You have an outbreak, you have a situation, you have people getting sick, they have the authority to go figure out what in the world went wrong. It doesn't matter. I mean, regulating these people and allowing them to do what they're already doing in business is not going to change that today. We have the ability to go find out what's causing people to get sick today. That's not going to change with this bill. It's not going to expand on this bill. The other issue is when somebody registers and says they're going to do this, they open themselves up to liability when they do so. These ladies who are out here that want to do this understand that because they put their name out there, they're knowing who they are, they're registered out there, they're saying I'm following these safety guidelines, and if they don't, there's some liability attached to it. They know that. They're willing to accept it.
And let me give you the next line of why there's merit in this bill. was just reading up the witness affirmation forms, and y'all notice that this is a lot of part-time or people that are doing it on, and that was compelling. That are for the bill, and it could be a pro-incubator kind of bill, because at one point I do think you segue into a commercial, like Tips Treats, and I think there are many others out here.
Ms. Bartos was the perfect example, and the fact that you brought the point. We're talking about this bill will allow me to sell to you. It doesn't allow me to sell to a retail establishment. It doesn't let me sell to rattlers so that rattlers can carry those products in all their stores. It doesn't let me sell to the restaurant. It doesn't let me do all those types of things. If you want to step up, which is where you would legitimately have an ongoing big operational business, you're going to have to get a commercial kitchen. And we don't want to change them. It allows you to incubate this product.
Sure, Joe Austin, Chairman Reynolds.
Thank you, Dan, for this. It certainly has been very interesting. It's an interesting debate.
Not no different than budget, right?
It's refreshing, yes. Mr. Nadler, the 46-year bakery owner, really kind of brought up a point, and we see it in a variety of other industries out there, where it would appear that we have set a lesser standard for somebody who's going to compete in the same venue and so forth. And so how do you kind of address that? That if you're just looking at the pastry goods and so forth that we describe here, that we are not giving a group a distinct advantage by lesser standards than a group that otherwise has higher end.
I'm not willing to accept the premise that it's a lesser standard of some sort. I'm not willing to accept that somebody that's preparing a good or product in their home, especially on a small scale for somebody, is not going to pay attention very greatly at what they do, just like they do when they prepare for their family, but actually probably more so because they're giving it, they're selling it to somebody else. I'm not willing to accept that, especially the fact that we have to make them get training, and we require, we have some rules process. Let me step up to that. Separate aside from the standards process, I don't allow them to compete against that bakery in all the other points that I talked about. They're very limited in who they can sell to from that perspective. In addition, as Ms. Bartos talked about earlier, they're limited on what they can produce, and the bakery is not. The bakery can produce a custard, for sale. They can produce a pudding for sale. They can produce all sorts of different things that are open and obviously beyond baked goods for sale, where I don't let them compete in that area.
So the basic premise would be that, and I'm not sure lesser standards is the right word, but there certainly seem to be lesser requirements than what might be required in a more commercial level bakery and so forth.
And as part of that, I have lesser opportunities for them.
Exactly. That's what I was going with.
Okay, so members, any other questions? Thank you, Representative Gattis. Chair withdraws committee substitute and leaves House Bill 3282 pending before the committee.
Pro-business, pro-mama, pro-apple pie.
You always have to get the last word in.